Hi everyone, I'm going to be recording my Take 5 art video for the month of June. Take 5 art is a kind of an art creative challenge. It basically lists 5 things that you have to use in a mixed media work or scrapbooking or whatever. And the interpretation is pretty free, and if you go and Google for Take 5 art on the YouTube video, you will find the creative process of many of these people, and it's just wonderful to have something to do, because a lot of times you want to create something and you're kind of stumped for ideas. So this challenge kind of makes you think, and it is known that creativity works best when you're restricted. So I love doing this challenge. I've been doing it quite regularly. June was a busy month for me. It was the month of our final internal exams and grading, so I didn't have time to do it in June. So I'm just finishing it off in the first week of July. Then I'll take on the July challenge, which is also very interesting. So the 5 things that we are supposed to use for this Take 5 art challenge is staples, mirrored image, textured paste, inks, either pads or paints, and use only 3 main colors. So I decided to go with, of course you can also add other elements that you want to add to the challenge. It is not that you're restricted only to them. You can interpret it however you want. So for that, because of staples, I've chosen these die cuts. They're very pretty and they're very antique looking. I have some coffee dyed paper that I want to use. It's dried to a rich coffee color. So the 3 colors I'm choosing are these long ago unused Camel waterproof drawing ink, and then they're in the color burnt sienna, dark green and black. So we'll see what I do with them. I have no clue what I'm going to do, but I've chosen these 3 colors because sienna is almost the coffee color. So that's that. I have this mini staple, and I'm going to use it probably to staple things together. Let's see. Then I have white texture paste from Camel. This is available in India. So next time I want to make my own texture paste, and of course a stencil from Faber-Castell, which has sort of a leafy flowery design which is similar to the die cut. Inside the die cut I'm going to put a photograph, but right now I don't want to show you the photograph. I'll show it in the last few minutes. This video, because it's unedited, will be in various sections. So if you feel bored, you can skip to the next section. What I will also do is halt the video so that you don't have to watch my artwork drying. So I may do it over the period of 2 or 3 days, or even this whole night. So or I may do it early. I don't know. So basically, most of the time a creator doesn't have an idea of what they're going to do here. So let's start with first just trying out the texture paint on this. So I'm going to use a little bit of washi and stick this down so that it doesn't flop all over the place. It's good to keep washi tapes that you don't like for this kind of work, so you can actually pull it off kind of ways. These are some paper tapes that I got when washi tape was not even known to us in India. I used to get this really expensive washi tape, and then of course I went to Michael's and got that box when I went to the US, and then I was hooked. So while I'm doing this, let me just keep up a little chatter, because obviously you can see what I'm doing, but since I'm recording live and I'm not going to re-record a voice over this or even do music, because I'm sharing my thought process, and as a philosophy professor it's very important for me to share my thoughts as I'm doing this, so that when you come up with little problems in your own creativity, you can see how I did this. This is a little bent because of, it's kind of textured already because of I like the crackly sound of paper. It's bent a little because of the being soaked in coffee. So, but as you can see, it's already having a nice design. Now I have a butter paper cover from this kind of translucent cover from Coco Daisy, one of the planner packets. I'm going to reuse this to creatively rub in my ink. I know people use plastic, but I prefer the crinkling of this paper because it's going to create a nice texture. I'm going to use one of these takeout trays to kind of mix my colors. So let me begin by pouring a little of the colors into it. This is the dark green, and then I hope I remember what is where. This is a burnt sienna. See, you should always have a and black. Should always have a white color tray so you can see the colors, but it's okay. It's just 3 colors, so I'll remember. So I think that's sufficient. So I'm going to dip my butter paper cover into, as you can see, I'm going to make just a crumple ball. I learned this from an artist who had come to work in my previous institution. So I'm going to take a little bit of the blue, and these are what supposed to be camel waterproof ink. This is with newspaper, but I like the way it forms a kind of a stamp texture. So you can always uncrumple and recrumple the paper to give a different texture. Just kind of going with the flow, covering up spots. And I know the center I'm leaving it empty because somewhere I'm going to try and add the texture paste. So this is basically the background. So that's sort of nice. And then what I'm going to do is to create what I call a mirror image. And for creating a mirror image, this is what I'm going to do. You know, we used to do this ink blot thingies when we were children. So what I'm going to do now is to actually take a lot of the dab of the green, getting an idea, and kind of put the green color in the center and put it more, add a little water, and then I'm going to do this whole ink blot thingy. I know it's a very straightforward interpretation of the mirror image, but I used to love doing this when I was a kid, and I wanted to just do it again. I had no clue I was going to do that. It just struck me as I was doing. And then there, a kind of very wild and nice mirror image over there. I don't know what it looks like. You know, thematic apperception test it was called, when you look at the ink blots and try to decide what you can see. It looks like some dragon wings or whatever. It's lovely, quite lovely. Okay, now there's quite a bit of green here. It's kind of darker than I wanted it to, but I can always put texture paste on it. So here is the camel texture paste. I haven't even used it, so I have no clue how it is. I hope it is. There's a time when you had to go deep looking for imported texture paste and art supplies in India, because when people were not so much into home arts, they were more like home crafts, like making dolls, embroidery, useful things, and art was regarded as useless. So these kind of things people did not even appreciate. It's good to have one of these palette knives to spread your texture paste. I'm not doing the whole stencil, I'm just taking the top part. It's also kind of symmetrical, and when I lift the paper you will see I'm getting a little bit outside the stencil, but that's okay. One of the theories of aesthetics states that symmetry is one of the reasons we think things are beautiful. So any pattern that is very symmetrical is immediately appealing to the mind. And I think I'm done with that. Just quickly lift this up. Lovely. It's not very neat and clean because a part of the texture paste has spread to the bottom, but I'm sure it's going to have a nice effect. And I'm going to just use my rag to kind of wipe off the texture paste from the surface of this. It's good to remove the bulk of the texture paint away from your project. I'm actually standing as I do this because I'm not using my study table, I'm using a higher desk, and so this is my heat embossing tool and give quite a hot spray, so I'm going to use it to quickly dry the paper. I'm going to stop now and give the first part a break, and then we'll resume back when the paper is dried and I am adding the next layer.